Welcome back to episode 9 of Smack Talk here at smarkoutmoment.com or youtube.com/smarkoutmoment, wherever you're watching it. We're at the part right now where we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw 12/19/2011. Apparently, the ratings are causing a little bit of controversy here. What I've got right here from my notes, it says that they had a 2.92 cable rating, about 4.3 million viewers. But the thing that people are really talking about here is the main event, which was CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Zack Ryder in a six-man tag match against Alberto Del Rio, The Miz, and Dolph Ziggler. The thing is, it gained only 59,000 viewers. And you might be thinking that I'm going to say it's because of Daniel Bryan. But this is where the shock comes in. I am not blaming Daniel Bryan on this. In fact, I'm actually going to support Daniel Bryan here. I think the reason that it didn't do that well is in the segment breakdown. And according to these numbers from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which they have more people that figure this stuff out than I do. I don't have the time to do this. It says that the show started out with a 3.36 rating. Then there was the Randy Orton versus Wade Barrett segment, which lost 721,000 viewers. That's pretty big.
That shows how many people actually liked Barrett versus Orton.
But then right after that, and this is where things get really confusing, Beth Phoenix versus Alicia Fox gains 277,000 viewers.
That was a terrible match. I was expected to lose viewers.
Now, Jinder Mahal versus Sheamus loses 247,000, virtually negating that jump from the Beth Phoenix Alicia Fox thing. Cena promo with Kane and Mark Henry and all that gains 428,000, and then you lose 700,000 roughly with the Epico and Primo against the Usos and the Cody Rhodes versus Santino matches. The backstage segments between Hornswoggle and Big Show and Bella Twins and all that lose another 56,000. So they lose 56,000 right there, and they gain them right back for the main event. So that makes sense that you would say backstage segments, people tune out, they tune in for the main event. That's
Yeah,
negated.
definitely.
But then there's two segments here where you lose over 700,000 viewers. One of them I can see, and that's the Epico and Primo versus Usos thing. Cody Rhodes versus Santino, I wouldn't think would lose that many. But I would think that it would lose, if anything. It wouldn't be something that would gain all the viewers back. But the Randy Orton Barrett thing, especially when you look at it as Beth and Alicia gained 277,000? No, something's up here. I don't think that these people tuned out because of Randy Orton versus Wade Barrett and because of CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Ryder, Del Rio, Miz, and Ziggler. I don't think that's the case at all. I think people tuned out in mass droves for that 721,000 because they didn't give a shit for something else. Something else was distracting them. I don't know what that would be.
Can I take a shot?
Go ahead.
Michael Cole.
I don't think it's Michael Cole because I think if it's Michael Cole, they would be
See,
tuning out constantly and they wouldn't be gaining back. In John Cena promo gets 428,000 viewers. Why
you
would
mean the
he?
John Cena rape promo, right?
But the Orton match loses 721,000, and if that were the case because of Michael Cole, you would see that last week and the week before. I don't think something switched this week to where everybody stopped liking Michael Cole and 700,000 people just shut off because of it.
Well, the fact is, he was being more whinier than usual. I found it very difficult to even watch Raw because of his damn commentary. It was doing my head in. And I was on Twitter doing the my usual like Raw tweet thing. Follow me at Michael Burhan if you guys want to follow me.
Don't follow
Cheap,
him. Getting you back
cheap
for
plug.
last week.
And unfollow and Tony Mango. Um, Basically, there were like tens of thousands of people on Twitter just complaining about Cole, going on about how bad his announcing is especially for him that week. So I've got a funny feeling that that's got something to do with it.
But if there's tens of thousands of people complaining on Twitter about it, that means they're still watching it. They're not the 721,000 that dropped off and then ended up turning 200 something thousand tuned back in for the Divas match. That never happens. They always tune out.
Well, it's either that or someone's got the ratings very wrong.
Either the segment breakdown is messed up and the ratings are off, or something was distracting people because I can't see it being that you start off the segments with Orton and Barrett and they lose 700,000 people. That just doesn't make sense to me from the very beginning of it when you are coming right off of a pay per view, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. We also got to look at the pay-per-view buys though as well. Once those have been released, we can actually confirm to see, how many people have actually purchased that pay-per-view
Mm-hmm.
specifically. But in terms of Raw, I just believe it was that, well, apart from Cole, that we probably got on a bit of a slump at the moment. Punk's doing what Brett did before him, and he's trying to hold the reins together in a rather difficult time.
Mm-hmm. He's the transition between the next big thing.
Yeah, of course. He could easily be the next big thing, but I think that ship sort of sailed when the WWE pulled the trigger on it. Um, because he had that interesting thing going on with the title where he was just not coming back to WWE, and I would have liked to have seen more of that if they took the chance with it, and not had the SummerSlam thing. And I think there's been so many stop and starts that creative have done with Punk that have annoyed people to no end. But the major thing I believe that could be causing this is has to be, I don't know, it has to be something that either for me it would have to be Cole, or that something's gone wrong in terms of the ratings breakdown, because I don't believe Punk, Bryan, or even Ziggler are at fault on this
No.
at all.
And there is where I will say my positive thing about Daniel Bryan. I All right, well let me mask it in a little bit of an insult at the same time, just so I can feel better about myself. I do not think that the ratings will ever go up with Daniel Bryan as the champion. I don't think he has any charisma when it comes to promoting the product and anything like that. But I think if you have CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Ryder, Del Rio, Miz, and Ziggler all together, you can't blame this on Daniel Bryan is the champion, so people tune out. That's not fair. Because if you would say that, then why don't you just say Zack Ryder is the United States champion? People are tuning out, or uh, there's no John Cena in there, and people are tuning out, or you can't pin it on the one guy. There's six people here, and something made it to where at the beginning of the night they were screwed right off the bat, and they only gained 60,000 of the viewers back. Well, that's the same as what they lost with the backstage segments of the Big Show interview and everything like that. So if you want to blame it on anything, blame it on those segments that are losing it in the first place to make it so they, because they gained something. That's the thing. That everybody keeps talking about how this is a bad Raw main event, but they gained. So it means people did tune in after they saw whatever they didn't like that they tuned out from before. They decided to tune back in for this. So I think that's a positive for the people like Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, of
But
course.
that being said, if they do this over and over and over again, and we start seeing that this is a trend, and it's in different parts of the night, because if it's just the end of the show and people are tired or something like that, then it's a different story. But if you see, a quarter of the way through the show, you see these same six guys wrestling each other and people are tuning out, or three-quarters of the show they do it again and people are tuning out, or the beginning of the show and people tune out and stay tuned out, then you need to start looking at which one of these six guys, if not all of them, are making the people tune out. I don't think it's any of them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that there's one thing I have to say to people though. If you're not happy with the product, give it a chance. Everyone's complaining that they wanted to see someone other than John Cena in the title picture. They gave you Punk, and everyone was happy. And then now people stopped going behind him. You know, everyone wants to see Daniel Bryan as a world champion. As soon as he became a world champion, now people are shitting on him as well, and it's ridiculous.
To be fair, not everyone wanted to see them.
Yeah, but you know, I know there was you and Michael Cole, but do you know what I mean? When it comes down to it, the IWC is very fickle in that way, where everyone wants to go on to the next trend. Well, people need to start thinking if you want the business to survive, then guys like Punk, guys like Ziggler, guys like Ryder, guys like Del Rio, guys like Bryan, and guys like Ryder, they all have to be in the position that they're in. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, this didn't work for a day, so just take the title off him." Because that's not the way things need to work. They
Hmm.
need to have a slow and steady pace. If they keep building him up, if they keep throwing challenges at Punk, I believe that he'll become the face of the company. If they do the same with Daniel Bryan, you'll find that Bryan will adjust to his position as the number two guy. You just can't basically just give up on them just because you're having one bad rating.
Right.
That's like dumping your girlfriend just because she's having one time in the month. You know,
It's an odd analogy, but I can't disagree with it.
yeah, because at the end of the day, people have to have faith in the product. They're having a positive change. It's a positive thing. What's going on at the moment? It's a new movement. It's the first time that we've seen John Cena out of the damn title picture, and people are complaining still. It's ridiculous.
Well, there's a lot of fans that I think, and let me go back to the thing, the IWC term. I am pretty much against the term because I think everybody that tends to use it as a negative thing of the all the people on the internet are doing bad things and you can't please any of them and all that. And I disagree. I think that there's like a three kind of tier split when it comes to uh, wrestling fans. There are the people that are pleased with everything and they complain when anybody complains about anything. And I see some of these people uh, comment on different forums and everything like that, where if you are not a supporter of anything that happens on there and everything, then suddenly, oh, you're not a true fan because you're bitching and complaining about it. Well, that's ridiculous. I am a huge fan of the James Bond movies. I thought Quantum of Solace was the worst out of the bunch. Now, does that mean that I'm not a true fan because I said that? No. So, for the people that criticize WWE every once in a while, you have my full endorsement. You have the right to criticize it because you're a fan of it. But at the same time, there's a 33.33 repeating whatever uh, split where there's people that are never ever happy about anything, and I get
No, there's a
criticized. I get criticized for this every once in a while, and I don't agree with it at all. And I kind of take offense when people say that I'm one of those people. I like a lot of stuff. Otherwise, I wouldn't be tuning in. Otherwise, I would never have created a website dedicated to wrestling because why would I have surrounded myself in something I didn't want to watch? Now, just because I am a fan of it and I like to watch it doesn't mean that I like to watch every segment or I like everything about it. I could not stand Hornswoggle for the longest time, and I still don't want to really see him around. So anytime Hornswoggle pops up, for the most part, I'm going to get annoyed. But there's some people that you could give them to a T exactly what they wanted, and they'll find a reason to bitch and complain. And those people drive me nuts.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was on the message boards of WrestleZone.com when had a guy actually literally saying uh, the same thing about Raw, saying, "Oh, they've got the worst champions of bookings, blah blah blah." And I literally just said to this guy, "Look, have you ever booked a wrestling show before? Have you ever been on TV? Have you ever handled scripted programming?" The answers to all those were no. And I explained to him, well, how can you critique? How can you say that the product's in shambles and blame these three guys without actually watching the shows and understanding where they're going through?
And the people that are never pleased tend to be the ones that uh, they've got their whole idea of. I'm a fan of such and such, and that means that he needs to be the world champion. And if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be pissed. As opposed to what I like to think that I do and anybody I'm associated with on Smark Out Moment does, where we go, you know what? It might not be something that I'm a huge fan of, but if it's good for the product, I'll support it. Like I am not uh, going to go out there and say that I think the all of the champions right now should be people like uh, I'm trying to think of like somebody that I'm a fan of that isn't really a champion right now. Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of Ziggler. I'm a big fan of Wade Barrett and all that. I'm fine with Wade feuding with Randy Orton right now, as opposed to being the world champion. If it's not something that's forced, okay. But uh, some people kind of don't have that disconnect where they think, you know what, let me take myself out of the equation and do what's right for it. Here, a prime example. When I was still hating Sheamus, I wanted him to win King of the Ring because I was like, you know what? It makes perfect sense for Sheamus to win King of the Ring, not the other people. Now, I would have been supportive if John Morrison would have won, and they started that whole feud with Morrison and Sheamus out of that. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? If they go with Sheamus for King of the Ring, it's going to make sense. I'd rather them do that than to throw it on somebody who doesn't mean anything. And now that Daniel Bryan is the champion, the way that I look at things is I wouldn't have ever picked him to be champion. But since they did pick him to be champion, I want them to do the right thing. So I want them to figure out a way to make Daniel Bryan somebody that I can cheer. And I think that a lot of these fans that are complaining about we need to switch things up, we need to get rid of John Cena, then you get rid of John Cena, and it's oh look at that, John Cena isn't in the world title, so now I'm going to be his biggest fan. That kind of stuff is ridiculous.
Hmm. Well, the way I see it is simple. We don't judge, we see how it goes, and if it continues to flatline, then panic.
Right, you have to take more than just one main event to see what's going on, especially because of these wacky numbers.
Exactly. You can't, I don't care how good a program is, you can't sit there and start talking about it when it's on its hands and knees. You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous what some people do. They're just total nihilists sometimes
So I
because
will
all they
go.
believe in doing is just basically, you know, um, shatting on the product and saying how bad it is.
mm, Well, I will go on record of saying, and you can quote me this later on, I do not blame this on Daniel Bryan. I think that Daniel Bryan has not had enough time for me to start criticizing him as world champion yet when it comes to ratings. If it comes down to it, then I will. But Daniel Bryan right now, he has my support. I want to see him succeed, and I want to see it do well. Uh,
I second that.
I don't think it will happen, but we will get into that in the next part when we start talking about this big show, Mark Henry, Daniel Bryan feud, and some possibilities when it comes to WrestleMania and everything along that side. So check out part 3 of episode 9.